Okay, sorry for the delay. I would like to call to order the Morgantown Utility Board special meeting for Thursday, September 29th, 2022. The first part of the meeting will be the public portion. So if somebody in the audience would like to speak to the board or the staff, walk up to the podium, announce your name and address, and give us 5 minutes of your thoughts. Sure.
Hi, my name is Katie Schweitzer. I live at 3151 View Court in the Morgantown area, but I'm outside of city limits. And the reason why I'm here today is I'm pretty concerned about the Morgantown City Council being overly involved with MUB, mostly because we're not constituents of them. We don't get any say in the vote that who gets elected on Morgantown City Council. And it's my understanding that more than half of your customers are outside of the city limits. And it seems a bit unfair to have the city at a bad ratio of like representing more than they really do within the consumer. And so I would just want to voice that. I'd like to understand better the history of MUB, whether the city council is actually permitted to do that, what we can do to keep it fair for people that are outside of the city limits and make sure that we have fair representation for the MUB board. The biggest reason why I'm concerned about the city council being very involved in the utility board is because as an outside observer, I've seen that they really seem to struggle with working with others, communicating well, and it cost the people of Morgantown a lot of money in lawsuits and delayed projects with other organizations. And I don't want the utility board, which in my opinion runs very well, to be involved in that drama. We had a problem at our house about a year ago where water main broke and the water actually came down the line into our house and out our meter. There was a lovely video I took of the waterfall meter. And we had some challenges communicating with MUB, but once we got together and I just came to the lobby and talked to a real person, I found that MUB was very helpful in resolving our issue. And I was very satisfied with the outcome of that and the helpfulness that they had once we were communicating well. As somebody that I just feel worried that if the Morgantown City Council, which they don't really have, I'm an engineer, I have a lot of experience on working with pumps, I'm a rotating equipment expert. I don't work in that field anymore. I'm home with 4 children. But when I see people who are on the city council that have no experience in engineering, have no understanding of how to follow environmental laws, they don't know how to work with other people well, especially the state and the EPA, I'm worried that it's going to be very costly for ratepayers to have those type of people that don't communicate while having a say when I don't have a say in who's elected on that board. So that's my concern. I'm hoping to have a better understanding of the history behind it and that type of thing. But as a ratepayer outside the city of Morgantown, I would really like to see your board be more independent of the city and not less. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie.
Do we have documents that we can post online that illustrate the history of MUB? We have that already, don't we?
Yes, I believe we do on our website.
I thought so.
Sure.
So I'm Jenny Celine of the Morgantown City Council, and I appreciate constituents of the MUB board and constituents of our area coming forth and having concerns about working with the city of Morgantown and the fact that they can't elect people who are on city council. And I would just like to make a response. And one of the responses, and it's also a response that somebody was concerned about the quality of MUB and city council and city of Morgantown not being appreciative of the quality of MUB as an organization, the quality of MUB projects. We have, to my mind, pretty much in my recent memory, always approved items that came from this board in front of city council. We have asked questions because that's part of our role. both provided by the Public Service Commission and the state government. And up to 2 members of this board can be people who live outside of the jurisdiction of the city of Morgantown. One of them right now is. And so I just wanted to clarify, because lots of the items that are being brought forth are not new ideas. They're even just stating what happens now. So it seems as though people who are concerned that sort of the sky is falling, or that if there were a city council person that sat on the MUB board, that all of a sudden the board would become political. And often when we have city participation on the groups that are connected to the city, it means that they have kind of a higher rate of communication, of items passing, of ease of communication, because that person comes back and says, well, I've heard some of the background on this, and and I'm familiar with it, and so kind of we're good to go. And so having representation does not mean that all of a sudden something becomes different than how it is. It can mean that there's an increase in the effectiveness and an increase in communication, which is what we're seeking here. Just trying to think of what the other items. Oh, the city, and actually the city is on the Chamber of Commerce, which is now MAP, Morgantown Area Partnership, has a transportation committee that mixes together business owners and our region's transportation. I think we're Region 6, but anyway, it has the airport, someone from the airport, someone from education, and we actually asked that there be a MUB representative on that group advocating for MUB. On the MMPO, we have people in the city and out of the city all working together on transportation initiatives. So I just wanted to say that we're trying to work on clarity, we're trying to work on communication, trying to work on coordination, better alignment, and so that is the spirit in which this is being moved forward. And in a spirit of cooperation, we're making sure that before we have our first consideration of this item, that there is a MUB opportunity to, at MUB's request, a MUB opportunity to have an input to council, and just wanting to make sure that we're moving forward in a spirit of working together. And so those are my comments, and I appreciate the time. Thank you.
So typically, we don't respond to public, but I'm confused. You're asking up for a communication meeting between MUB and the city council prior to Tuesday to discuss this?
No.
Oh.
On
What
Tuesday,
was your last-
there just was a request that MUB have an opportunity to make a statement.
Okay.
And we are, of course, saying yes. And then if you all want to make any kind of requests or considerations, please do.
Okay.
Thanks.
Mr. Chair, may I make a clarification?
Potentially. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is Eric Carlson. I serve as chair of the Transportation Committee with the partnership, as well as being a member of this board. Mayor Salim, when you made the request for MUB personnel to join the call, I spoke with Mike McNulty, and since then, I believe on all but one occasion, Jared Bosley, one of the engineers, has been a part of the Transportation Committee, as have I.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Jenny.
Yes. Thank you.
Does anybody else in the audience like to speak to the board? Okay, well, thank you for your thoughts. We'll move on to new business, the Chaplain Hill water and sewer system upgrades.
This is part of the Westover upgrades as well, which you've seen on the agenda and we've discussed. Just to let the board know, the West Virginia Infrastructure and Job Development Council water and sewer applications were both approved by the Funding and Technical Review Committee this past week, with a recommendation to the full council that they be approved. That number, those dollar amounts right now, it's a 80% grant and a 20% local share. However, we're seeking economic development money through the West Virginia Water Development Authority. It is, we are being told now by representatives from WDA that the 80% grant is not very likely, that they were going to be looking, they're looking to do more projects. And so we have been having meetings to talk about how the local share would look like and the 50%. Mr. Chairman, do you have a thought on how deep in the weeds you want to get into it this evening, or just an overview? Or
Well, I think we've had MUB, County Commission, the West Ridge developers, Island Park personnel. We've met quite a few times on how to get this project moving forward. It sort of hit a financial stumbling block, so there's been a lot of creative conversations on how to get the funding. And we met this morning, and MUB is trying to participate in that, and I think we have some good ideas. The county, and so they're looking for this board to sort of approve some of those creative financing in theory, because it really doesn't come into play unless we get the grant.
How much are the principals putting in?
Well, I don't know how much they put in thus far. Mike, do you have any information or data on that?
the right now we're looking at a ARPA share from the Mon County Commission, about 1.75. We also would be looking at additional funds from the West Ridge developers. They have on deposit with MUB right now, we're right at about $560,000. They're also paying for upgrades that are part of sort of an interim step, let's say. We called it the Band-Aid, as through other conversations in board meetings. I believe that those water and sewer projects they're actually being installed now. It's upgrades to lift station and then a water pump station, a booster. And I think that's being done right now. I know Joe's been working on that, our electrician. And so there's looking at some coming up with probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about 1.1 million is what is going to have to be brought up in the local share. In addition to, we have also, we've talked about the water line that is on the Westover Bridge. Just to remind everybody that that line is right at 50 years old. It is not, we're very concerned over the structural integrity of that line. We felt like this was an excellent opportunity for MUB to join into this particular project in that application process. That cost is about $1.9 million to get a new water line under the river, which is what we want to do. We don't want to put it, there would be no more aerial lines on that bridge.
The 1.1 that you mentioned, that's not coming from MUB, that's coming from that's the local share.
So, well, excuse me, Mike, but Karen, if you look at this Mike's spreadsheet, the bottom line, the additional 1.1 million, that's what the county commission is willing to
That's what
put in additional.
Right.
That's what I wanted to know.
Right.
Yeah, and then on the bottom side, so MUB would participate 1.9 million, and then on the sewer side, MUB would participate the 1.6 million.
Okay, the 1.6 million, there was, Scotts Run, when the MUB acquired the Scotts Run Public Service District, there were funds set aside in the reserve account for future expansion or upgrades. And so those funds are available, to put towards the project, which we have to upgrade. We have to put another, we're going under the river a lot, I guess. We're gonna have to put a second line under the river, force main into our Star City wastewater treatment plant, because the existing line's not big enough to hold additional growth. And there would be some upgrades to the, what we call the Sheets Lift Station, that's located at the 3-minute car wash, if that's not confusing. But, so there'll be multiple, and then under the interstate as well, that force main has to be upgraded.
Now, the Sheets is being currently torn down and remodeled. Is that where you say the upgrade of the lift station would be? Because it's right next to the car wash.
It's right beside the car wash. In fact, when you drive through there, you see the control panel right in front of it.
So-
or the exit, I guess, of the,
Right. Is that something that we need to do, anticipating, since they're already doing the construction there at Sheets, just to go in there and do all that work now, or are we gonna have to go back and retrofit anything that's put through?
there won't be anything at the Sheets part
Oh.
that would have to be done. At this juncture, all that's been done is the preliminary engineering report
Okay.
and cost estimates. We haven't gone into actual design at
Okay.
all. So we're waiting to see what the package will look like, assuming that we would get a 50-50 split.
So the reason why we haven't done the designs is we're waiting to see the funding. But my concern is, why not go ahead and do the design with whatever options you might need to accommodate the funding level that would be available?
Well, I think it's kind of twofold. One is that we haven't, the partners haven't decided to spend the funds.
Oh,
All the partners. You gotta, to buy in on that preliminary in case something would go wrong and it wouldn't come to fruition, and the partners are like, well, we paid for a design and we're not gonna do anything. And we're not gonna piecemeal the design, but, this is going to be a rather quick process. We're going to know, I think we're gonna know early in November
okay.
what everything's gonna look like. And so we would be, at best, we would probably be bidding about mid-summer.
We did, submit an application. Go certain distance with the design.
Mhm.
So we have preliminary engineering reports for both water and sewer
Okay.
that were submitted for that application.
Okay.
So there was some preliminary.
Okay.
design, so.
I think what we're asking for is, so the project was beginning to come to a halt. West Ridge and even Mylan Park's additional projects up there. So the county commission basically has stepped up and willing to take out get some additional funding. But in that, to do that, they're asking us to do like a lease purchase type of an agreement
Yes.
that they're gonna own it, we're gonna own it. It's kind of convoluted, like I said. We're not even sure what the final result will be. But they need our approval to sort of, in theory, allow this to move to, well, we can tell WDA or whomever that locally, there'll be 50% of the money put into the project. And maybe you can explain it better, Jeff, the actual
Yeah, not at this,
process.
I mean, we just heard this morning. So there's definitely gonna be some research to make sure that the funding mechanism that they're proposing, is doable, is legal. So we have some work to be done there. But I think they were just looking for sort of, high-level blessing from the board that we're willing to pursue that.
I think it sounds reasonable.
I wanna see what falls out before I I say yay, nay. but-
Yeah, I don't think it's a final yea or
Right.
nay. We just don't wanna, to move forward, we just sort of
Right.
need, some type of acknowledgement that we understand that it's not standard operating procedures, I guess.
Would you want a motion to sort of endorse in principle the ideas that are being put forth pending the actual presentation of the final financing options and
How about if we endorse the exploration of the ideas?
I think that works. I think it gives everybody a level of confidence that the county commission can move forward with their plans, and so can the developer, with knowledge that this isn't a final approval, but
Right.
we'd like to see the project move forward, obviously.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we endorse the concepts that are being put forth here and that we encourage the general manager and the president to continue to pursue the funding sources with the eventuality that a final project commitment that MUB would be making would be on some future agenda.
Maybe contingent.
Second.
Does that capture the?
Does that satisfy you, Jeff, Mike?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
And that's not binding MUB to anything
Right.
other than a concept and of what could possibly occur.
And I think that's what the county commission and everybody was looking for.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any questions on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
No, you mean affirmative or opposed?
Eric, are you opposed or infirm?
No, I seconded it too. I thought I was in
Yeah.
favor.
I was just a little quick on the opposed, Eric. Okay.
Eric opposed.
Okay, so yeah, I think we've had some really good conversations with everybody, and county commission's sort of picking up, and I think Mike and Chip with the Scotch Run money is a big help as well. Yeah, for sure.
JT, I just want to say, I really appreciate the effort that you've made on both this and many other projects that have come before the general public and the leadership that you've provided in this. I think you exemplify basically the high standard that the Morgantown Utility Board operates under, and I just want to commend you for everything that you've done.
Thank you, Tom.
Here.
I think that that group will be very pleased that you guys blessed their plan. Proposed ordinance amending Article 169 Utility Board.
I would like to go into special session if we can. I have questions for our legal counsel.
Okay. You good with that?
Sure. Second. I move that we convene an executive session of the Board of Directors under the provisions of West Virginia Code Section 6-9A-4B12 to discuss legal issues, and further move that the September 29th, 2022 special meeting of the Board of Directors be adjourned at the conclusion of the executive session.
My second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to move to executive session to discuss legal issues. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so moved.